Hi everyone, Sebastian from Panthera Motorsports. It's been a while since we brought you a new electric starter kit. Obviously, we've been super busy creating our new engine, the 600cc two-stroke EFI from Panthera Motors. Now, we keep getting some new requests about new bikes for electric starter. One of them had so many requests, and we think it's such a great fit that we've decided to do it for you now. We're bringing you the Honda XR650R. Now, obviously, this is a perfect candidate for an electric starter kit. The XR650R is a dual bike that's used by a lot of people on the street, on the dirt. It's a 650 engine. It's a horse to kick, and I don't care who's going to tell you on the internet in their video that there's a trick and it's easy to start. Let me agree to disagree. I've tried it. You've tried it. It is not fun, especially on a hot day, in a hill, no matter what. So we think it's a great fit, the electric starter kit for the Honda XR650. The whole kit's going to be installed on the flywheel side like most of our electric starter kit, and the kickstart remains functional as a backup. So don't worry about it. It's a super simple installation, and we're going to explain every detail with you today and fit it on this bike. So let's do it. Let's start by removing a few parts we won't need for now, including the flywheel cover, the shifter, and a couple bolts and brackets. So first of all, shifter, 8mm bolt, pretty simple. You guys are all used to that. Let's remove it real quick. We're going to be removing the clutch cable bracket. We're supplying you with a new bracket that's lower profile to allow for more room for the electric starter and all. So this one's got to go. 8mm as well. We're going to be removing that cable bracket as well as the sprocket bolt, since those two bolts are going to be holding the supplied battery box. The batteries are going to go right here underneath the carburetor. So 8mm as well. And let's just save these ones as we're going to reuse them. Let's right away, as we're on 8mm, remove the stator cover. All right, there we go. Let's put it aside for now. So we're also going to be removing the gasket. If sometimes they are kind of stuck, you're going to want to remove all of it. If there's some remainings, you can take a little Scotch-Brite. We're going to want, in a couple minutes, clean absolutely perfectly the gasket surface to put the new supplied gasket, as this assembly is now going to be running oil, and we want to make sure that it seals properly. So we're going to want to be sure that the gasket surface on both sides are perfectly clean. All right, so we're going to be wanting to remove the flywheel right away. This is a 17mm bolt. So let's undo the bolt itself. Go. You might need a stronger impact if it's all the way torqued to the specs. Now, to pull the flywheel on the Honda is a simple M20 by 1.5mm bolt. If you don't have one, you don't need to buy the fancy puller. It's really just a bolt. It's a standard thread. So you're going to want to put it in and just pull the flywheel itself. There we go. And we have our flywheel, which we're going to be reusing, but we're going to put the starter gear on top of it. Now, as you may have seen, the flywheel on the XR is extremely close to the surface of the engine itself. There was literally no room to put a starter gear behind it, so we had to shim out. So the needed extension for the taper is also going to be acting as the flywheel gear older. I'm going to show you that in a minute. So right here we do have actually a taper extension combined with a starter flange. So we have the one-way gear which rotates in one way and lock in the other way, just like in any of our electric starter assemblies. So this is going to act as the new taper for the flywheel and extend the crankshaft itself to receive the new starter gear. We'll put that in a minute, but first of all, let's clean everything up, make sure that we're ready for the whole assembly to put on. Make sure that the flywheel housing it's completely clean, as we said, as we're going to be running oil now in that assembly. So we're going to want to make sure that there's no dirt remaining or nothing. Normally this flywheel cover is dry on the XR, but we're going to be putting oil in it. Now a lot of you always ask, is it all right to run oil in a stator that was not running any oil before? But actually any stator in the world of a motorcycle can run wet. All the wires are sealed, so there's absolutely no problem. And you can actually see that the stator got a little hot. That's because it was not cooled by any oil or any liquid, and it's something we often see on dry stators. So the oil is just going to make that stator even more reliable and keep the whole gear assembly lubricated. So a little bit of Scotch-Brite right here, maybe just make sure everything's clean, and we're going to be ready for starting the reassembly. As mentioned, we manufactured you a nice little billet bracket to replace that one, which is going to go right here. Put right on top of that and put it back there. So, we're ready to install our starter cover. Now, let me go get it. Let's go ahead with the assembly. Now, you've noticed there's already some dowel pins from the engine itself on the housing. We're gonna need some 2 extra one to put back the cover afterwards. But let's start by putting this unit on with the supply gasket right on there. And we can now put the new starter housing extension. Let's put the new gasket on, and then we can align on both dowels the new starter and housing extender. Make sure that everything's aligned. Should match the 2 dowels. There we go. Now what we're meant to do is put 2 bolts right here in the holes to hold in place the housing while we put the starter gear, the main starter gear in place. That will prevent it from falling. One's all right. You can put a second one if you want. Right here, so nothing moves. Nice thing about this kit is we actually manufacture every single part, not like any other similar kit you've seen in the past, which would use, you know, OEM gears, Honda, ATV, other stuff. We do, all those gears are ours, so everything you see here is complete, and it comes with everything you need to put that kit on and go right again. So now that the starter's in place, we're going to be installing the extender in one-way gear right on the crankshaft itself. So you're going to want to align the keyway to the wood rough already on the crankshaft and mesh the starter gears together. So there we go. You can see right here everything is meshed up, the wood rough is aligned, and we can now put the flywheel, same thing, the wood rough is on our extender and aligns the keyway, so the whole ignition system still keeps working the same way, same timing and everything. So there we go, flywheel is on, it's locked on the extender, and we can now torque the flywheel on. We have supplied you with a new bolt, a longer one, obviously because of that extender we need a longer bolt, high torque, high resistance bolt to torque that to the Honda spec. So we're going to be putting this on. It's a 19 mil socket. We're just going to run it first initially with the light impact just to put it back in place. This is the 17 and the 19. Thank you, Sebastian. There we go. All right. On the spec for the flywheel is 90 foot-pounds, so already prepared my torque wrench right here with the 19 and using wrench to hold the flywheel in place. So I've locked the flywheel with a wrench. There's two flat and on those XR flywheel. So we're going to be torquing this to 90 foot-pound. There we go. Perfect. Now, so we are ready to reinstall actually the stator cover, which is gonna go on the flywheel just like it normally goes to. Now let's not forget to remove our holder bolts, which are not needed anymore. The dowels are already in place, so we're only gonna have to put our gasket on and put back the stator cover. Now you're gonna wanna make sure that this retainer tab for the cable goes back where it's supposed to. So we got the grommet in the first slot and the cable retainer here. It's easy to lose it, it's easy to drop it. Just make sure to put it back on. So we supplied you with a brand new second gasket. These are amazing gaskets. They're a compound of rubber and aluminum foil. They're reusable most of the time. You can reuse it for more than once. Super strong gasket, really good sealing capability. So we're gonna be putting this stator cover back on, right on top of the flywheel itself. Right here. Make sure that the dowel aligns everywhere. There we go, right here. Okay, so the kit is supplied with some brand new bolts. Longer ones, these are socket head. If you prefer the OEM look, you can always find some other bolts. There's 60 millimeter for where there's no dowel and 70 where there are some dowels. So, same as before, a little 90 inch-pound works good. More than enough to seal. Make sure we torque it all. You can always put a little bit of blue Loctite on these bolts just to make sure. It's a big engine, it vibrates a lot. Always good to put some Loctite on if you prefer. There we go. So technically everything's fine. We can always do a little checkup by using the kickstart to rotate the engine and see if everything rotates properly. So we can use the decomp, always easier that way, and rotate the engine. Everything seems fine, everything spins perfectly. So, almost done already. We're gonna wanna be putting some oil now inside the cover, as said before, so it's gonna be approximately 300 milliliters of your usual gear oil. You can either put it through the oil sight of the timing or in the starter cap. So for this time we'll show you the gear at the same time, so we'll use the starter cap, gear cap, just to put the oil in, and we'll put it back on afterwards. So we'll give you a look at what's in there. There we go. So you can see it's an O-ring all around the cover. So we have the starter gear here. It's a crown gear, as we call it, as it's a 90-degree angle gear with the motor itself, and then it meshes to the torque limiter gear underneath. So we're going to be adding some oil in there, putting that back on, and then we'll fiddle with the wiring harness and battery assembly. Now we can put back our cap back on, making sure to align the bearing and the shaft of the gear and the 3 bolts. So there we go. And we can put the bolts back in place. I also recommend putting some Loctite, especially on those ones. They're tiny, they don't have a lot of threads. Let's use some blue Loctite on these. All right, the mechanical part's ready. Now time for the electrical part. So we're gonna install the battery box, run the wire. It's super simple, super easy. And then we're ready to fire it up. So let's go. So the XR650 is a big engine. There's multiple possibilities to do that. It's either, there's three ways to start a big engine like that. It's either you have a massive electric motor, it's a big engine to crank, or you have a smaller motor and it cranks super slow and it doesn't, you know, fire up every time, super hard. You've seen some other products similar that really struggle to crank that big engine. Or you go the way we've decided to go, which is dual battery setup, to crank that smaller electric motor in 24 volt and really crank it super fast and fire it up every time. Now, we got you sorted out in terms of 24 volt setup. We've developed at Panthera a relay module which connects all two batteries together and keeps them in parallel all the time to charge both batteries together, and only put them back in series when it's firing up the motor. So it's really a switch system and it keeps both battery charged and balanced all at the same time while you run. So this is all supplied with the kit. You can buy this kit with or without battery. If you want to buy themselves, they're anti-gravity SC1 battery, really tiny. We supply you with that battery box, which is going to go right here, and we're going to be able to install that battery box on the motorcycle. So make sure that you move out of the way the cables and put the battery right here on the sprocket guard and on the bolt that we removed earlier. So this is how it's going to go right here. So we're going to put those two bolts back, and then we're going to also install the module on. Probably going to do that before I put that right in there actually, and we can then now run the cable. Now, we are not supplying you with any conversion from AC to DC on this motorcycle at the moment. There's many ways to do it. There's many explanation on the web on how to run light DC lights. This is not included in this kit. So if you want a motorcycle to charge your batteries, you're going to have to do a DC conversion and remove your AC regulator and replace it for AC-DC regulator converter to charge those batteries. If you do so, you just need to charge one of these two batteries. It's all explained in the installation manual, and you'll be able to have your bike always functional and always charged. So let's bolt this on, connect everything, and then put the push button on the handlebar, and then we're all good to go. So, battery pack is in place, two bolts tightened, everything's connected. If you need more details on the electrical assembly, everything is in the install manual. Only thing remaining will be the power to the electric motors. We're going to be running a ground to the bolt on the battery itself, on the motor itself, sorry, and then the positive to the electric motor. So let's do that real quick, and then we can run the rest of the wire and we'll be done for today. So. Right on top of it. So the only remaining now is the relay wire control that goes to the button on the handlebars. So all right, so button is set, so everything's ready. Oh, I forgot to tell you guys, we're also supplying you with shifter, offsetted shifter for the cover that's now further out, so you don't have to worry about that. It's all supplied. Like I said, everything in this kit is ready for you guys to modify it and go back riding. So we're ready to test this. Probably let me just open up the fuel valve. That's done. Maybe a little choke just for the first start. Key is on. All right, let's try this. There you have it, guys. XR650R Electric Start. Get yours now. They're gonna go pretty fast, I'm sure. Ciao.